Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, but more importantly, Rise. Our update 4 of Sunbreak is finally here, and with it, we have some big new monsters to fight. Of course, we have Velkhana, but the risen version of Valstrax, which seems to be terrifying in concept. And importantly, this should hopefully be a shift in the current meta. I'm looking at the risen version of Valstrax today, though. And in this specific case, we have big potential for that meta change. Because, yet, back in base Rise, there was a big meta change with Dragonheart being very respectable. And considering this is a new risen version of Valstrax, of course we can hope for some big things. Let's take a look at the fight and give our first impressions overview of the new mechanics and things to be aware of. Our new risen Crimson Glow Valstrax has quite a similar design, but with that dark tinge of purple, even the purple veins running throughout the design itself, majorly changed when that risen transformation takes place. Within your master rank quests at star level 6, on page 2, you will have the new risen Crimson Glow Valstrax hunt. Once you've reached master rank 160 or higher. Before you go hunt the thing though, it's probably a good idea to know its weaknesses because it's really scary. Much like a regular Valstrax, it is basically whatever element other than dragon are you thinking of, that's going to be pretty good. At 25s across the boards for the head and neck, as well as the forelegs and wings. Powered up points are going to be your targets though, much the same as before, but there is no 30 or 35 weak zones at the baseline. It's interesting because if you look at the Crimson Glow and then the risen version, it is literally statistically the same, so you can go into it knowing that. However, once we get into the fight, things are a little bit different here, because my god is this thing doing so much damage every hit, and then the combinations of attacks are so ridiculously fast and so deadly to deal with, you can't be hit by any part of it, or you're going to lose most of your health or just die. It is a familiar fight to begin with overall as a master rank version of Crimson Glow. It's gonna try and power up multiple times throughout the fight, and you ideally want to stop that, dealing damage while it's vulnerable during the charge up phase, and interrupt by dealing enough damage to stagger or knock down. Of course, the red points being the chest and the head and the wings, those are always going to be great targets. You will see familiar master rank combos then, be it the double stab at long range, that poke combo, or the stab and then spin. We have the aerial leaps and slams or dashes. There's the jet-like blast forward, back and forward to look out for. Up high, it might blast us for some shots from far, or maybe you'll see that iconic double wing slam, which has the follow-up explosions, of course, and that can be extended once we reach Enrage, where the combos get lengthened. As our master rank version has progressed though, there's also things like the aerial charges, followed by say a wing drag and then flick of a line of explosions on you directly. The fight from high rank to master rank has become a lot more explosive, but that's really just really ramped up in the risen version. As we expect with risen fights now at this point, there is the risen transformation to worry about, which will happen eventually after you've dealt with the fight for a little bit, and that's where things get truly crazy and concerning for sure. The risen transformation of Valstrax has it turn a deep orange hue compared to its normal red, much like the other risen we've seen so far. This effect also works like the others. It is incredibly dangerous and ultimately something you want to, or rather need to, end as fast as possible. While new moves will be added during this phase, I will say its raw power is the scariest thing here, because it's going to basically become much more explosive with the range and the power of those and how quick it comes out, and the damage is just silly, easily 1 or 2 shotting in combination with those explosions. By dealing enough damage though as a risen, we can knock it out of the transformation to return to a more manageable state, but that's far from easy. It's still a master rank Valstrax with all the damage and threat of that, but much worse during this transformation. Upon transformation, it would seem though, ambush comes out every time, and that ambush now has 2 parts. From up high, you will first be hit by this wave of explosions from cannon blasts. That will leave those sort of red explosive pops all over the ground, and they'll land in sort of a ring around you. By moving and then trying to stay in the center of that, you can avoid those blasts. And of course, after a short delay, we'll have Valstrax land right after that, and if you're hit by that, you're dead. So not much change there. I recommend you carefully avoid that first wave of delayed explosions, and then jump to the ground to lie down to iframe the ambush itself, after a brief delay after those explosions have popped. That's how I find myself safely avoiding that attack. Now during this we have charged up swipes and swings, where after a brief channel we'll see a powered up one wing wombo combo. One wing will have those red engines blazing and you'll know it's coming at that point, and you either want to get the hell out of it or look for some iframes or counters, because a powerhouse spin attack's coming out from said wing and that will one-shot me if it ever landed, so yeah, don't get hit by that. Should you survive that, the spin will sort of momentum Velkhana forward, where after it regains control it'll send out an insanely powerful thrust with a single wing, and again, you must avoid that. Other than that, we have a general enhancement of the basic moveset that we've been seeing. There's the sudden leaps up into the air to full fist slam down and huge AoE right on top of you, or when the wings are facing forward, you'll see those casual cannon shots from medium to long range, tracking you and exploding after the impact, but sometimes firing in combo, especially with aerial movement. Overall, this fight is just baseline so scary because of the raw damage that's been increased here. Between that new ambush that seems to come out again after every risen transformation, or the charged wing attacks, I had a really hard time surviving a single hit during any of that enraged transformation period. The somewhat obvious and silly advice again to give you then is to maintain DPS throughout that as best you can, and get Velkhana out of the risen mode before it's too late. Try to avoid being at medium to long range because it's not exactly a safe point with this monster. Circle around the wings and control the situation by using counters to iframe those deadly hits. It's not going to be easy though, I can tell you that for sure. With that overview out the way then, let's take a look at our new armor, which is this incredible looking set. Basically, the armor represents the wings. So if we look back at the Crimson Valstrax Eclipse, this is the powered up Valstrax, right? And the wings are facing backwards. But much like in the real fight, things are very deadly when the Valstrax brings those wings forward and begins using those laser blasts or cannon shots or otherwise. And I don't know, I think it looks hilarious, but kind of cool. I think the shoulders look amazing. The sleeves look like a baggy hoodie or something pulled over your fingers. But other than that, what about the actual skills? Well, we have an absolute pile of skills here. Attack boost 6 for the full set is ridiculous. 3 out of 3 on the crit boost. We've got stamina surge. Some less exciting things like stun resistance and dragon resistance, though that will be relevant because we have, say, latent power, but most importantly, that new skill, dragon conversion. When using the red scroll swap then, all element resistances are set to 0, which is terrifying, then converted into elemental attack. So, elemental builds may be wanting to look into this. Then we have the blue swap scroll, which will raise the element resistance back up. So I imagine the idea is to swap, build up the element resistance, and then swap to red to then dish out the damage. At level 1, we can simply activate the effect and also get some element resistances at +3. At 2, it's up to +5, but when using the blue scroll swap, resistance buildup increases when attacking. Finally, at level 3, we have +10 to those element resistances, and then the red improvement, the conversion rate for elemental attacks will increase, improving the value. So yeah, if you are going to run that, Sims level 3 is going to be very important, and we're going to look into it to see how much this can affect the meta and how much this should update the sets. Lastly, we have our decorations to consider. We of course have 2 with Valstrax, element exploit dual +4, so that is 2 element exploit levels on 1 single decoration. Potentially amazing. Otherwise, we have Dragon Spirit, which is exactly that skill I was referring at the start. Dragonheart. Much as it did before, when your health reaches a certain point, you will contract Dragon Blight, and that will improve your element resistances, and our new skill of Dragon Conversion. Obviously, it's been thought through, and they're hoping maybe that we'll use them in combination. And back from Master Rank Valstrax, we have the Rampage decoration, Valtrax Soul, increasing our Dragon element attack by 20% when afflicted with Dragon Blight, so in the case of specifically a Dragon element build, that could be very worth considering. But there you have it, that is our overview of our new Risen Valstrax and the armor skills and otherwise. Let me know what you thought, and if you have any takes on the new skills and such, if you tested them all, we'll be doing exactly that very soon, and I'll be back with a new Dual Blades build with that in mind, hopefully in the coming days. Until next time then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.